Okay, welcome to today's webinar, which is entitled For Sale by Owner, Engaging a Lawyer in Real Estate Transactions. I'm Eli Gim. I'm a member of the Business and Real Estate Group here at Beresford Booth. And I should start this off today with a caveat that this is probably an oversimplification of what we do, but I wanted to at least communicate some of what we can do to be helpful in some very straightforward ways. And so this is indicative of some of the requests that we get. And I guess I would say too, just in the simplest of terms, you know, on a residential purchase and sale, so a single family home purchase and sale transaction at its basic form, you know, that is a big deal for people in their lives. It's one of the biggest purchases or sales that any of us make in our lifetimes. And so while I say, you know, in a very plain language that this is an oversimplification, I don't want to diminish how important these transactions can be to people, whether it's in a residential context, a commercial context, or what have you. So this is a bit of a high-level oversimplification, but with an acknowledgement that these types of transactions matter. So I want to start out, first of all, by making it very clear that lawyers are not real estate brokers. And I would say the converse is probably true, that most real estate brokers don't want to be mistaken as lawyers either. So we are not real estate brokers. Brokerage services run a really wide gamut. So the listing, of course, negotiating terms, advertising and marketing, and all different elements of buying and selling properties. You know, we work with real estate brokers on valuations all the time, broker opinions. They can provide property management services, whether it's a single family home or a commercial building. So there are all sorts of things that real estate brokers are licensed to do, and that they serve a critical function for folks doing. As you probably know, if you've ever bought or sold a house, brokers work on commission, customarily 6% of the sales price, and that's usually shared, you know, 3% for the buyer's agent and 3% for the seller's agent, and that gets paid out of the sales proceeds by the seller, customarily. And then on certain transactions, we will work with brokers, or we may each refer clients, depending on what is needed for a particular transaction. It's very much can be a symbiotic relationship where, you know, we help one another to serve the client, and that's that last bullet point then, that we have this shared goal of supporting our clients and seeing the transaction through completion. So very important, though, distinction, we are not real estate brokers. So again, when I talk about for sale by owner, that just seems to me to be the phrase that people know, that may be the easiest way to kind of understand a context in which we might be able to help as attorneys. That is very straightforward. So I put here, lawyers can offer a viable option in certain scenarios, such as sales to, and let's just look at the first two, a family member or friend, or a buyer who is already identified. And so, you know, where the parties, buyer and seller, already have the terms pretty much ironed out, and you need someone to just kind of paper the deal, that there is no negotiation, there is no marketing, there's no listing. You know, that may be a scenario then when you just want someone who's going to be able to ensure that your interests are reflected and those terms are reflected in the details of the real estate transaction. And so you can imagine with family members, you may have people who want to sell a house to a child, one of their children, or they've held on to the family home for decades, and now the time has come where they have an adult child now who is going to move into the house, and they want to sell them the house, or they want to gift them the house, or however they've negotiated the transaction. We can help with that. Other times, maybe it's not a family member or friend, but someone's already been identified. Someone's come along and made an offer on property, maybe totally unsolicited, but you've talked, you've hammered things out, and now again you want someone who's going to be able to shepherd that through. We can do that. We can do that. A lot of times, and this is kind of hinting at some of the more complex things we may be able to assist with, if there's a larger merger or acquisition, and as part of that larger transaction, there may be the sale of property. Again, as part of that larger transaction, we can help make sure that deal is papered appropriately. And then I think we also get engaged quite a bit when there may be non-traditional real estate transactions where there are other complicating factors. Maybe, as an example, it involves the classification of property as agricultural or open space, and you're contemplating, or the buyer is contemplating a change in classification or something else that might require then some legal guidance or advice. That's where we can be helpful in those scenarios. And I want to say too, we also get engaged by buyers where we can review terms and forms and edit or advise as needed. I will say with this particular provision, we often get that request where clients will come to us and say, can you please review the purchase and sale agreement? I will note that we can be much more helpful in that scenario if we are allowed to review it before our clients sign the purchase and sale agreement or other agreement. Oftentimes that is not the case, where someone may come to us and say, I signed this, can you help me figure out what the terms are? And again, the ship has sailed to some degree on the contract. So always more helpful if we can advise prior to signing or entering into an agreement. And oftentimes we'll also get requests, if I'm not quite sure, or if the numbers aren't working out, can I get out of this deal? And so on the buyer side, lawyers can certainly help, and we can certainly help with the transaction as needed from the buyer perspective. All right. So just taking a look, if we were to view the transaction for the seller, papering it looks very similar to what you would otherwise expect, right? So there would be a purchase and sale agreement. Any additional forms, you're used to seeing like a seller disclosure form or a lead-based paint disclosure form, or other addenda with negotiated terms, who's paying what taxes, if the closing date needs to be adjusted from the initial purchase and sale agreement, all those types of things, we can certainly help with that. Purchase and sale agreements, there are the forms that you would ordinarily see, whether it's for commercial or residential properties. There are template forms that brokers can use, that attorneys can use. And there are occasions where we need to have a more custom purchase and sale agreement. Really depends on the deal, but we can help in either of those cases. Just what you would see with any of these transactions, we would then work with title insurance companies, request a title commitment, title report, see what there may be recorded on title. Are there any exceptions? We would work with escrow to assist with the transaction and preparation of closing. And as needed, we may work with a lender as well. A lot of times there may be deals that are seller financed. Obviously, we can help paper that piece of it. And then, of course, when it comes to deeds, what kind of deed you may want to use or what makes sense for the transaction. Are there certain exceptions to a warranty if it is in fact a warranty deed? And real estate excise tax. Every one of these transactions requires a real estate excise tax affidavit. Again, nothing particularly tricky, but if there's an exemption, you would want some help to know if there's an exemption to the tax, how to and what to claim on that particular affidavit. And really, I just wanted to highlight a few advantages to working with an attorney on real estate transactions like this. And really, when I say advantages, I'm also just pointing out certain differences, because there are certainly advantages to working with a real estate broker as well. But in our case, you enter into an attorney-client relationship with us, and we only represent you. You're our client in the transaction, and there is no such thing as dual agency in these scenarios. Certainly not where I've been involved in real estate deals. We represent you as the seller or you as the buyer. We don't represent both parties. And then any legal issues that come up, we can deal with promptly. So I gave the example previously about classification. If there are certain things that pop up that are issues with taxes or gifting, we can figure those things out in coordination with our client. Other legal services are available. I put here estate planning. That comes up all the time, right? So a scenario where we are helping to paper a transaction. It could even be in a commercial context, right? Someone's getting out of the business, and so part of that is selling real estate. There may be some estate planning work that needs to occur as well, or that they want to have as they consider the terms of the transaction. And the last thing I put here, that we're not paid on commission. So unlike a broker, we are paid at our hourly rates. And I would just say with that, the commission, you can imagine at 3% to 6%, is a significant number. If the median value of a home in King County is $850,000, a 6% commission could be, $51,000. And so if you only need someone to paper a deal like that, then it may make sense to have an attorney just paper the deal, especially if, as some of the scenarios that we've kind of covered here in this brief review, where the terms have already been agreed upon, that there's nothing that needs to be, advertised or marketed or listed, and really not even negotiated, that you may just need to paper the deal. So again, there are certain advantages, certain scenarios. I would say it's worth a call to see, to talk through what you may need for your particular situation. And if it makes sense, then we here at Beresford booth are certainly available to help in whatever capacity we're needed. And if it doesn't make sense, or if you require much more of those types of brokerage services that a real estate broker provides, then by all means, we would point you in that direction as well. Again, we have several friends of the firm who are real estate brokers who do a tremendous job in service of their clients. We're kind of all on the same team in a lot of ways, and hoping that we can help our clients, sometimes the same clients, to reach their goals. So if you have any questions about any of this, or as I said, if you just want to kind of talk through your situation, feel free to reach out to any of us here at Beresford booth on the Business and Real Estate Group. We're happy to help. Again, it's kind of what makes what we do fun, that there are all sorts of scenarios, and whatever we can do to help, we are here to answer the call. So thank you for paying attention to today's presentation, and look forward to talking with you if you have any issues that we can help with. Bye-bye.